Guys, welcome back to that Fuzzing Rock Show interviews. And I got another good one for you guys today. Let's welcome to the show Mr. Matt Harvey from EXHUMED. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man, dude, it's my pleasure. Listen, man, I really appreciate you taking some time out to hang out with us today. Um, let's get right into it, dude. We're going to talk about the new release. It's called To the Dead. Came out on October 21st on Relapse Records, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. Let's talk about the band a little bit. When did you guys first get together?
Like the very first incarnation of the band was like, I guess would have been like late 1990, kind of early 91. I mean, but this is like, I was like 14.
Right.
And I turned 15 in, I think October. Yeah, it was October 1990. Sorry to do some math there. And we played like our first show in like 91. We were like a high school, local opener type band for quite a while. And then we did a bunch of demos and EPs and had a bunch of lineup changes. And eventually released our first album in 98, quite a while later.
And that was your debut album was Gore Metal in 98, yes. And demos and singles and in between 98 and the new one, there's been like 8 releases. How do you think the band's sound has evolved from 98 until, I'm sorry, 98 until now?
Um, I think that the main change is that we're better at playing. We're better at executing the songs. So things now are a lot more, everything that you hear on the record is pretty deliberate. Whereas on the first couple, especially, there was a lot of things that just sort of happened.
Sure.
Like, well, that's what it is. So the struggle has shifted from, when we first started, we just wanted to like make a record that sounded good and play the songs correctly. And now sort of that's like the baseline is that we can play the songs correctly, unless we're, too drunk. and, and then, recording wise, technology has improved and our knowledge has, broadened in the intervening years to where making a good sounding record is pretty easy,
Sure.
so now it becomes a struggle to sort of find a unique take on our sound and to, evolve without really like, changing too much, because I mean, we have mostly the same influences as we did when we started,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly pretty much the same influences by the time we did our first album. So, trying to find new takes on those and new ways to, to be us, not do like a Cold Lake or whatever that Morbid Angel I album was.
Right.
So there's, you want to grow and you want to change your sound and find new things to explore, but not do that.
Absolutely. So now you're the only original member in the band, correct?
Correct. Yes. Ross joined the band in 1994. I think he was still a senior, and it was like right after our original drummer and I graduated high school.
So now you guys have pretty much toured the world, I'm sure. Question I ask a lot of different bands. Do you notice a difference between the audiences in the US and say like the Europe crowds or the other countries like overseas crowds?
I mean, it all kind of depends, like when you play, certainly like areas like Holland or Germany where there's so many fucking gigs, a lot of times people are just like, they'll come to the show and be like, oh, it was pretty good, just sort of stand around. But then if you go to like Eastern Europe and play in like Bulgaria or Serbia, then people are, fucking throwing themselves on the balcony and like losing their minds because, there's just not that much that comes through there,
Right.
And which is a little bit different than here because a lot of times in the States, I feel like when you play in LA or Boston or Portland or some of these bigger markets, the crowds are more intense. And then when you go out and play in like bumfuck Egypt, where it's like, it could be Kansas or it could be Alabama or whatever, kids almost like don't know how to act at a show because they don't go to shows, and they're sort of like,
Right.
what do I do? Do I, and then, then there's like the Latin American audiences, which are like a whole other dimension of insanity. And then, so, it's all metal is worldwide. And one of the things I like about it is that it sort of supersedes, whether someone is Swiss or they're from Uruguay or they're from Malaysia or Toronto or whatever.
Right.
Wherever you go, you're going to find a friend and you're going to find something to bond over and share beer and, have a cool chat. But, the audiences are still a little bit different, from culture to culture, which is fun.
Do you have a favorite venue to play?
Actually, I do. And I think really probably the whole band would agree on this. Our favorite venue is a place called Reggie's Rock Club in Chicago.
Nice.
It's like the perfect size. I think it's like 400 capacity. So if you're having a great show and it's sold out, that's awesome. If you're having an okay show and there's still like 170 people in the building, it's, still really fun. It's not like some places where you go and you're like, look at this giant room, and you're like, fuck, even if it's a good turnout, there's no vibe because it's just too big.
Right.
And the staff is great. Their house sound person, she did a tour running our front of house. Their food is great. We have a lot of friends in Chicago. Everybody, it's just a great fucking time every time I go there. So I'm excited to go back there in a few weeks.
What about like overseas? Do you have one in like, let's say what about in like Europe? Do you have a favorite one in Europe? Or
I mean, it's in Europe. I mean, it's a little bit different because I mean we haven't been over there in a few years, honestly. But there's one place called Feuerwerk in Munich that the shows there are usually pretty good, but the beer there is like perfect. Like if I think of like what beer is in the dictionary, it's like that beer.
Nice.
Because in Germany, it's very like kind of city by city has their own, one or two beers, and then the next city has a couple of different beers. Not like here where you just go to the store and there's like 500 beers, or at least not at the venue. And so that's like the perfect beer. I like the Underworld in London because we've just had a lot of good times, like
right.
being in the city, but it's I still think Reggie's is my favorite overall. That's the total package.
Big shout out to Reggie's. So tell me about we talked about influences a little earlier. Tell me about some of your early influences and what got you into music.
I mean, I think, I was always around music. My dad was a big music listener. His mom, my grandma, was a piano player. She used to like teach kids lessons. Weirdly, not me for whatever reason. I took piano in school and was like, I hate this, Mom. I don't want to do it. And then, like 5 years later, I was like, I want a guitar. And my uncle, my mom's brother, is a very good like jazz fusion guitar player, and he's also a flautist. And anyway, but I wasn't that interested in music until like I heard Master of Puppets when I was like 11, and I was like, what the fuck is the duka 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 beat? I was like, that's the one.
Yeah.
And from then on, like I thought I was gonna be like a comic book artist. That's what I was into. I'm still into it, but that's what I was into before getting into metal. Then I was like, nope, I'm gonna be in a intense metal band, and so then it just sort of quickly took off. The usual. It's like goes from like Metallica to Exodus to Slayer to SOD to Venom, Onslaught, Bathory, Celtic Frost, Creators, Sodom, and then by that time it was like 88 going into 89, and then we started hearing things like Death and Obituary, and this is like when I'm like 13, and then I heard Napalm Death, the Peel Sessions at some point in 89, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And
What
it was
is that,
like,
right?
yeah, it was like hearing Master of Puppets all over again. I was like a whole other doorway of music, opened up, and then it was just off to the races. And that was kind of like And especially I'm from the Bay Area, so it was like by the time I was getting okay at guitar and kind of figuring out what I might want to do, I was like 13, 14, and thrash just seems so established already, and there was this new music coming from Carcass and Entombed and Carnage and Terrorizer and Extreme Noise Terror and all these bands that we were discovering. So we thought this could be like our thing, because obviously like Exodus, to me was like up on the fucking mountain.
Sure.
That was like
right.
That was so it was so enshrined already that it was kind of immovable. So I think death metal and grindcore felt like more like somewhere we could sort of get in and do our own thing and make our own way or whatever.
Hell yeah, man. So is there any new bands out now that have your attention?
Oh yeah, man, there's lots. Yeah, there's a band called Morgue Breath from LA that I'm a really big fan of. I just heard the new Morbific album from Finland that they're really good. Galvanizer, also from Finland, is really good. Our friends up in the Bay Area in Cartilage, we did their record at our studio. They're a great band. We did a record for a band from Santa Cruz, sort of from Santa Cruz, called the Pygas that I think is really good. And these are just like the death metal bands. I mean, there's all kinds of great stuff.
Sure, absolutely.
I love like Devil Master and Primitive Man, and just I'll hear different things. Obviously, it's not like when I was a teenager when all I was doing was like, oh my God, I gotta find more bands. I'm so excited about it.
Right.
A lot of bands, still kind of cross my path and I get excited to check them out. And we toured with a lot of great bands as well, and that's always a really fun way to kind of discover bands. Like I love Bewitcher that we were out with last year. They got that kind of early Metallica meets Venom meets Merciful Fate kind of sound. Wraith is kind of in that same wheelhouse. It's newer. So I mean, I don't know. It's not like I have my finger on the pulse, but I guess for a guy that's 47, I'm still trying to stay hip with the kids.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about this new album that you guys got out. Came out the 21st on Relapse Records. It's called To the Dead. 10 tracks, about as fucking brutal as you can get. The single Drained of Color, killer fucking track, dude. How long did it take for you guys to write this album?
It seemed to come together pretty quick. I mean, it's this is our pandemic record. We're always writing, so we always have material, but we kind of realized that we would be grounded for a lot longer, than we thought. At first I thought, oh, this will blow over in a couple of months, and it was like, oh, this is not really going away. And we were planning on recording maybe at like the end of last year, but instead we recorded in April. We started in April. And by the time at the beginning of 2021, we had most of the record written, and we were talking about how the first EXHUMED show was in 91. And so that was 30 years ago, or now 31 years ago. In fact, maybe it might be 31 years ago today, but, we thought, how do we sort of acknowledge that? Because we don't know if we could play a show, like a celebration show or any of that kind of thing. And they were like, well, maybe we'll re-record some old songs. And it's like, we've done that before. Everyone's done that. So we invited some former members to contribute songs. And so that, because nobody was working, everybody was just sitting around like waiting to figure out what the fuck was going on. We were able to get, all the writing done really pretty fucking quickly, and it was something for us to focus on and, to work on and stay in touch, because we don't live in the same town. And, so I think it gave us kind of some sort of normalcy or cohesion during that time of being really separated. And so it felt like we had a lot longer than usual, but it probably actually came together a lot more quickly.
Right. So where did you guys record it?
We have our own recording studio here in town. It's called Darker Corners, and we built it with our engineer Alejandro Corredor, who has done a couple records for us, and I played in a couple different bands with him, and he's done our sound live for years until he was like, you guys don't pay me enough, so I'll just help you build your studio and then, go work in LA. And so anyway, so we did it all ourselves, and we had, nothing but time because, every record label was letting certain releases wait until tours can happen. And when we went to the studio, Relapse was like, hey man, just a heads up, we're not in any hurry to get the record. Take all the time you need. It's going to be a while. So it's not like if you hand it in sooner, it's going to come out sooner. So we were able to sort of just lollygag and really, go at our own pace. We started in April, and I think we approved the last master in like August, which is fucking unheard of. Usually it's like 2 weeks and done, which in some ways I prefer, but it was nice to have the time.
Mm-hmm. So now you did mention touring. You guys have a tour supporting the album starting in Portland on November 11th, I believe.
I think I don't know. You might be right.
Somewhere around there. It's
10th, 11th, somewhere.
If my writing's correct, it's 11th, but it could be a 0. Who the fuck knows? And that's with Holder, Vitriol, and Molder.
Yes.
And then Castrator takes over on the 22nd. And
for Molder, yes.
Got you.
Yeah, it's one of those confusing tours with the switcheroos. So.
Right. So everybody check your local venues for the availability. How's it feel to be getting back out on the road, man?
It feels good, but we were also really lucky to be able to pull off a tour last year. We were out last October. And we just sort of, we were just like, well, let's book something and hopefully it can happen. And we really lucked out because we went out at a time when the pandemic was really kind of at a lull, right before it sort of picked up again, like at the beginning of this year. Like at the beginning of this year, everybody I knew was fucking sick. But in October, when we were out, everybody was pretty much okay.
Right.
And we managed to stay healthy and actually complete the entire tour, which was crazy because I thought, for sure, like we'd end up going home like halfway through, or we'd lose like shows, or somebody was going to get sick. And so we pulled it off. That said, we were already done with the new album when we did that tour last October. So it's really nice to be able to get back and get these songs out and play the new songs and really, do a full tour with the knowledge that, hey, we're going to be able to play every single fucking show.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're not going to be kind of like, worried about every little fucking thing. We're just going to be able to go out and do our shit the way that we always have,
Absolutely. So now what can the folks expect from the live show? Are you guys going to be doing mostly the new stuff? Are you going to drag out some gems from the past, or?
Well, we try to like balance it between, old stuff and new stuff. Obviously, we're going to be playing a bunch of songs from the new record. But, we try to hit every album, at least, with a couple songs here and there and mix it up so that, I know when I go see a band, it's like, Elvis, leave it. Sorry, tongue of the dog.
That's all right.
When I go see a band, I like to hear deep cuts. I like to hear old shit. I like to hear new stuff. I want to hear, a healthy mix. In fact, some bands, I only want to hear the old stuff.
Right.
It's like Iron Maiden just announced that tour where they're like, we're playing tons of stuff from Somewhere in Time, which is my favorite album, but also tons of stuff in the new album, which I did not care for. And I'm like,
right.
Fuck.
No, I agree.
So, we try to, split the difference as best we can. And, we still like playing the old stuff too, man. It's good fun for us, and I like, I would be the worst if I picked our set list because it would be all like deep, random shit that nobody knows what it is. Because that's what I like to hear. But, that's why it's a committee. They don't, left to my own devices, I would just derail our career immediately.
So now, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick here. So you're out on tour. You're only allowed 3 albums to take with you to listen to. What are they?
Well, they wouldn't be the same. Like these wouldn't be Desert Island discs because on tour it's a little bit different because, we play metal every night and we're at clubs where they play metal with other bands also playing metal. So if for 5 weeks, I would probably take like, it's It's a record called "Hurry Up, We're Dreaming" by a band called M83 that sort of mixes like synth wave and like Euro pop and like, but it's really dreamy and surreal. And it's also a double album, which is great if you can only pick one because then you get more.
Good thinking. Good thinking.
I'd probably take something like, maybe like Earth, Wind, and Fire's greatest hits or something like that. We listen to a lot of soul and old R&B and stuff. And then maybe like the Untitled record by Sigur Rós, like the Icelandic band, because it's a really good album to sort of like fall asleep to in the van.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm like, I do the tour managing stuff, so I'm always updating the spreadsheets and the budgets and counting all this shit. And it's sort of, peaceful music to just sit there and like type by. Whereas if you're listening to like, fucking Bonded by Blood or whatever, you're just like, I don't want to put numbers in a spreadsheet. I want to drink beer and smash stuff. So, like I said, on tour would be quite different because if I was on a desert island and I only had those three, I might go insane. But
yeah, right. And I gotta let you know too, like probably 3 or 4 minutes before you signed on, September was in my mix and it just played, which is pretty
awesome.
funny.
It's great.
You mentioned Earth, Wind, and Fire, so yeah, absolutely. So now, all right, so being a guitar player, what is one, if you could have any guitar that you wanted, what would it be?
I mean, like I'm probably the worst person to ask this question. Like, a lot of people and a lot of my friends, like they fucking love guitars. Like if there's a guitar store, they're like, let's just go to the guitar store. I was like, why? We have a bunch of guitars in the fucking trailer. Like, are you going to buy one? They're like, no, but we can just look at guitars and play guitars. I'm just like, oh, okay. I would probably just want like a 70s Gibson Flying V, just stock, which is, or maybe like actually I take that back. I would want a Les Paul custom, but like a 70s.
In the 70s, yeah.
Yeah, like John Sykes used to play, like Blue Murder and stuff. And black with the silver hardware, that'd be perfect.
Now, have you ever sold an instrument that you regret selling?
No, I did get rid of an instrument that I regret, but I think I can't remember if I threw it away or smashed it and threw it away or what. But I knew a lot less about like guitar repair at the time. So I thought like, this thing's all fucked up. Let's just get rid of it. Like, what am I doing? I got to move or whatever. I don't know what the circumstance was, but it was a black neck through and BC Rich Mockingbird, like an old, like early 80s NJ series.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing what I know now about like guitar maintenance and stuff, A, I never would have let it get that bad. And B, probably for like $300, that thing could have played like new. But at the time, $300 was a lot of money for me. So
true. So now, is there anything else you want to tell the folks before we wrap it up?
I would just say, if you've already checked out the record or bought tickets to the show, thank you. That's awesome. We really appreciate your support. Obviously, we couldn't fucking do this without you. If you haven't and you're thinking about it, hey, I would urge you to. We've got like new production for this tour. Some new shit for the stage, some new songs. It's a great package, and we'll do our best to rock your socks off and all that good stuff.
The new album, folks, from Exhumed to the Dead is available right now. It's out on Relapse Records. Check your streaming platforms for availability and catch them live on the tour with Holder, Vitriol, Molder, and Castrator at a certain time, that is. And you can check your local venue for the dates and availability on that. For more info, you guys can check out exhumed.bandcamp.com. That's where you get the stuff. Remember, Bandcamp Fridays, guys. Facebook and Twitter is at Exhumed Official. Insta is at Exhumed_official. Check out relapse.com and on their Facebook, Insta, and Twitter, it's at Relapse Records. Brother, I appreciate you hanging out with me. And the new album's amazing, and I hope everybody goes out and gets it because it stands straight up on its own and punches you in the face. And I'm proud of what you guys have done, and look forward to seeing good stuff for you. Good luck on a tour, and stop back again and see us sometime, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much.
All right, brother. Matt
All
Harvey,
right,
guys.
cheers.
Thanks.